step into a world where being neurodivergent is celebrated and the conversations are as real as they are eye-opening. Welcome to Femme on the Spectrum, where autism, ADHD, and life's biggest issues collide in the most empowering way. I'm Elizabeth, your host, your guide, and let's be honest, your fellow traveler down the winding road of, wait, was that a red flag? Spoiler alert, yes. Yes, it was. Today's episode is all about the why behind the painfully relatable phenomenon of autistic women falling head over heels for narcissists. Because honestly, we can smell someone's perfume from across the street, but somehow we miss the giant neon toxic sign. Make it make sense. So grab a cup of coffee, your emotional support blanket, or both, and let's get into it. Let's start with the good news. Autistic women are basically human lie detectors. Seriously. Research shows that we're excellent at picking up on inconsistencies in tone, body language, and actions. It's like we have this superpower where we can see tiny discrepancies that most people miss. A 2019 study published in Autism Research found that autistic adults often outperform neurotypicals in detecting deception in strangers. So, why do we miss those giant red flags when it comes to narcissists? Let me break it down for you. Narcissists are not your average liars. They're like the James Bonds of manipulation. They've got charm, they've got style, and in the beginning, they've got whatever it is you're looking for. They're like emotional shapeshifters, mirroring your every need. And let's be real. If someone tells you that your quirks are adorable and acts like they're fascinated by your hyperfixation on 18th century textiles, you're not running away, you're probably picking out wedding invitations. I remember once being swept off my feet by someone who seemed to get me. I mean, he laughed at my jokes about masking and even pretended to be fascinated by my deep dive into vintage musical theater posters. It felt like I had found my person. Turns out he was love bombing me harder than an all-you-can-eat buffet on a cheat day. Hindsight is 2020, right? All right, so now that we know how narcissists are basically emotional shapeshifters, let's talk about their favorite weapon, love bombing. Picture this. You're just going about your life, maybe feeling a bit misunderstood or lonely, and suddenly, bam, here comes this charming person who showers you with attention, affection, and adoration. They send flowers, they text you good morning before you've even opened your eyes, and they make you feel like the protagonist in your own romantic comedy. But here's the kicker. Love bombing is a strategy. It's a way for narcissists to manipulate and control you. It works because it hacks into your brain's dopamine reward system. Remember that study I mentioned earlier? Well, a 2017 study published in Personality and Individual Differences explains how narcissists use excessive flattery and grand gestures to build trust quickly. It's not love, it's a psychological heist. And trust me, if you're autistic and have been craving that finally someone gets me feeling, you're basically the perfect target. I wish I could tell you I spotted this from a mile away. Nope, I fell for it hook, line, and sinker. I remember being wooed with grand gestures that made me feel like I was living in a rom-com. He'd say things like, "You're not like other girls," and lavish me with compliments about how I don't seem autistic. Ugh, that should have been my cue to run for the hills, but instead I was too busy feeling seen. Spoiler, I wasn't being seen, I was being studied. So, to anyone out there feeling a bit too swept off their feet, take a second look at what's really going on. Love bombing is a tactic, not a testimony of genuine love or admiration. Stay tuned because after the break, we're diving into another aspect of this tangled web, the role of empathy in these manipulative relationships. Welcome back. Let's now break down another significant aspect of this whole narcissist autistic woman dynamic: empathy. It's time to debunk a huge myth right off the bat that autistic people lack empathy. Nope, false, wrong. In fact, many of us live with what's called hyper empathy. It means we don't just feel for other people. Sometimes we feel with them, almost like we're emotional sponges soaking up everyone else's vibes. But there's a catch. Narcissists, oh, they see hyper empathy and they think, jackpot. How see, oh, they know exactly how to exploit this trait. According to the Journal of Clinical Psychology, narcissists often target empathetic individuals because they're more likely to excuse bad behavior and stick around to help or fix them. I mean, come on, we're pros at troubleshooting everything under the sun, so why wouldn't we think we could troubleshoot a relationship? Spoiler, you can't. You're not a therapist. You're not a narcissist whisperer. Put down the toolkit. Story time. I once got myself tangled up with a narcissist thinking I could fix him. He was like a broken printer, and I was determined to troubleshoot every error message. I even made flowcharts, people. And despite all my efforts, he gaslit me like it was his full time job. I had to learn the hard way that you can't out logic emotional manipulation. It's like trying to fix a sinking ship with a roll of duct tape. So, what's the takeaway? Empathy is a beautiful thing, but it can be a double edged sword. It makes us caring, insightful, and compassionate, but it also makes us prime targets for emotional manipulation. Be mindful of your superpower and keep your emotional radar finely tuned. After all, knowing is half the battle. Stick around because up next, we're going to tackle the tricky topic of boundaries. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. All right, let's dive into another sticky facet of this whole narcissist, autistic woman conundrum: boundaries. Yep, those invisible lines that are supposed to protect us, but often feel like the most confusing concept ever. For many autistic women, setting boundaries is like trying to explain the plot of Inception. It's convoluted, frustrating, and quite frankly, exhausting. Here's the thing: we grew up hearing stuff like, just be polite, don't rock the boat, or my personal favorite, why can't you just be normal? Hi, Pete. So, when it comes time to say no or that's not okay, our default setting is to freeze or comply. A 2021 study in autism in adulthood found that 65% of autistic women report difficulty establishing and maintaining boundaries, often because of past experiences with being dismissed or misunderstood. Seriously, no wonder boundaries feel like uncharted territory. And the narcissists, oh, they're experts at boundary bulldozing. They start small. Can I borrow $20, Ikis? And then it's, can I borrow $200 before you're suddenly Googling how to get your money back from a narcissist? Spoiler alert, you won't. Let me hit you with a personal anecdote. When I finally got the courage to set some boundaries with a narcissist in my life, you'd think I'd just canceled Christmas. They called me selfish. Me? The woman who once gave a friend her entire wardrobe during a meltdown because it might make them feel better. Setting boundaries is brutal, especially when you're conditioned to put everyone else first. But here's the kicker: it's absolutely necessary. It took me a while and a lot of emotional bruises to realize that boundaries aren't just about keeping people out, they're about keeping yourself safe. So, even if it feels like you're building walls of Troy, do it. Your well being is worth more than any temporary discomfort. Trust me. Okay, folks, so boundaries might be tough, but they are essential shields against emotional manipulation. Up next, we're going to talk about the awakening that happens once the narcissist's mask slips off. Stay with us. All right, let's get into the good stuff: the awakening. This is the part where the veil finally lifts and we autistic women start to see the narcissist's manipulation for what it truly is. It's like that moment in a mystery movie when all the clues come together and you're like, aha, it all makes sense now. Once that narcissist's mask slips, oh boy, we're done with their shenanigans. So remember how I said we're basically human lie detectors? That pattern recognition, it's like flipping a switch once we start noticing inconsistencies. Every gaslighting comment, every manipulative behavior, it's all lit up like Times Square. And here's a fun fact: studies show that autistic individuals are incredibly resilient. A 2020 report in Frontiers in Psychology found that autistic adults often develop stronger boundaries and self awareness after navigating difficult relationships. It's not just about seeing the narcissist for who they really are, it's about realizing our own power in these situations. Yes, we may get fooled romantically, but once we're out, we're out. Narcissists can't survive under the cold, hard stare of autistic logic. We're basically like, nice try, buddy, but game over. This awakening is empowering because it helps us build those stronger boundaries. It's like forging armor in the heat of battle. We become more aware, more assertive, and way less likely to fall for the same tricks again. So if you've ever found yourself waking up from the narcissist spell, give yourself some credit. You've navigated a psychological minefield and come out stronger. To all my fellow autistic women out there, don't beat yourself up if you've been fooled by a narcissist. They're master manipulators and you're human. The important thing is to learn, grow, and build those boundaries sturdier than a medieval castle wall. And remember, the same intuition that lets you see through everyone else's BS will eventually help you see through theirs. All right, we're almost out of time. Trust me, you won't want to miss our closing thoughts coming right up. And here we are at the end of another eye-opening episode of Femme on the Spectrum. We've covered some vital ground today, so let's hit those key takeaways one more time. Autistic women were human lie detectors, but narcissists? They're emotional shapeshifters who love bomb and manipulate. Our hyper empathy can make us prime targets, and setting boundaries is often a struggle. But here's the kicker: once we see through their mask, we're done and we emerge stronger and more resilient. So, lovely listeners, let's turn these experiences into growth opportunities. Learn from these run-ins, build those boundaries like the walls of a medieval castle, and always trust your intuition. It got you through today's episode, and it'll guide you through life. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with anyone who needs that extra reminder that they're not alone. Thank you for listening to Femme on the Spectrum. I'm Elizabeth, and I can't wait to share more with you next time. Stay beautifully neurodivergent, and don't forget to check out the show notes for any articles or studies mentioned today. See you next time.